it's insane to me that like mid 300s is affordable housing.
Right.
You know, because for years on the education circuit, the example of like, well, you got to buy it 65% minus repair. So if you buy a $100,000 house, you got to buy it 50, put 20 into it, sell it for 100, you make your 20, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you say that over and over and over the past 15 years for educational purposes, just for examples, and then you're like, wait a minute, $100,000 house, like that's where are you gonna get that?
Welcome back to Real Investing, where we talk about real investing for the everyday investor. I'm Tim Harridge. I'm here with Courtney Hemsley of Empire Development. And my friend
Ryan Harper with Harper Belmont Media, which is not a real estate company, but it's okay.
But you're real estate adjacent.
Real estate adjacent.
So welcome back. Thanks for stopping by, Courtney. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we're not going to record your knees. Inside joke for the blooper reel.
Cut that out.
So construction, fun things going on in the market.
A lot of stuff going on in the market.
Yeah.
We still have a shortage of housing, so that hasn't gone away. So,
can we just jump straight to labor?
Yeah.
Shortage, surplus, getting easier. What's your read on construction labor these days?
It's competitive with the guys, but a lot of the labor, they need work. So it kind of goes both ways. You can negotiate the pricing more because they need the work. But it's most of your trades, most of your labor, if you're experienced in the industry, these are guys that you've known and been working with for years. Most of my trades and labor I've been working with 10 plus years. So they're the first guys that I call. They call me if they, hey, do you have anything else? Do you know anybody that has anything? So right now, a lot of the labor, they are reaching out. I probably get calls daily. If I'm not utilizing the guys, do you have anyone else that can utilize us for labor?
So this is why I brought this up first, because obviously a couple years ago, it was hard to get people to answer the phone, much less show up on the job.
Right.
And I mean, that was back in the day where roofing crews would leave halfway through the day and just get up and go to another job.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that in my flipping business recently, I'm getting more calls from people looking for work. And when I need something done, it feels easier to get someone there.
Right.
So I'm just a one-trick pony, kind of ish. So I was just curious what a big company was feeling.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, labor, when they're your guys that you've been working with for many years, they're going to call and reach out because they need the work. And then another trick to the labor in the industry is everybody wants to work up front because that's the big part of the paychecks. It's that last 5% in construction that kicks your, I don't know if I can say that, but where they don't want to, they could care less if they come back for that last 5%, and they want to go get the first in money from a new job. So that's where usually labor kicks our butt on the construction or renovation side is, if they come in, everybody's gung-ho ready to get the job because that's where the big money comes in at the front, but then that last 5% they don't want to come back to do. So again, having the experience is withholding enough so they'll come back and complete it. So that's always a trick.
So I'm glad you brought up labor, because I know, not me personally, but I've had friends in the business before where they would intentionally have projects that were maybe not full-on loss leaders, but were break-even type projects just to keep their crews engaged. Going with what you were saying, that tracks with years past. Is that still a thing now if there is a flood of labor that needs the job? So it seems like if I'm hearing that, you don't necessarily need to take loss leader jobs because there's always a labor.
There is always labor, but of course you have your select labor. I mean, you want the guys that are going to show up when they need to, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday, if things just need to get done, that you trust, that are going to do what they say they're going to do. It just really depends on your guys, and you don't want, if you have good guys, you don't want to lose them, because I'm only as good as my team. I mean, I can bring in the jobs, I can create the opportunities, but I know what to look for to see if it looks right, but I don't want to be out there physically doing the work all day, every day. So I'm really only as good as my team, and I'll do anything to try to keep these guys busy, or, even if it is some instances where I am just breaking even so I can keep my guys available and with me
So that's
for
still
my
a
future job.
thing
It is
for select key players.
Yeah, it still is a thing for key players. Yes.
I bring that up first because I don't think it's getting enough publicity. The jobs reports are getting a little worse, kind of, month by month. And construction labor, it's reported on like multifamily projects and commercial projects, but a lot of the boots on the ground labor in our single family housing industry doesn't really get reported on the job reports. But I'm always trying to, after 20 something years in the business, and we try to be no fluff around here. Like, obviously you're in the construction business, and so we'll talk about your business, but we try to talk about like what the real thing is on the street. And I am starting to feel some recessionary undertones in the labor market, in the job market, and just frankly in the way people are willing to spend, and like they're, instead of, oh yeah, quartz and the best light fixtures and all that, it's kind of like, do we need to do that? So that's why I ask. Obviously, if you're doing a lot of projects, you got a good pulse. And the key thing she said though is now people are starting to call for work versus you're having to track them down.
And is that when you say recessionary trends? Is that what we're referring to? Is the trend that now you have an influx of labor that need work?
Well, no,
there's no work out there.
There's less work. There's becoming less and less available work, and people are kind of drowning in their auto payments and credit card payments, and they need work. And there was a period there after that last election where people didn't need work, and people didn't really want work, and if they were going to show up, I mean, day labor skyrocketed to where you're paying close to $300 a day. Up from $100 a day in 2019. Like, I mean, it was just astronomical increase. And I'm starting to hear and feel that coming down a little bit. You just hope that we find balance and don't go all the way to where there's people in line for food stamps.
Right.
Environment.
Right.
What about materials? Because there was a time where if you wanted drywall, you kind of had to be in line. You had to pick if you were going to go be in line at the wood grocery store to get toilet paper, or Home Depot to get drywall. Like,
well, and there's the lumber shortage as well.
Yeah. So how are you seeing? How's the material market now?
Materials mainly. Pricing is still competitive. You have those that will fight for your business, especially if you've been doing business with them for so long. Always on materials, I'll get 3 quotes and then compare everybody and beat everyone down. I mean, it's just kind of the rule of the game.
And you're not shopping like at Home Depot. You're talking about like a supplier. Like
well, Home Depot will come through on some things that you'd be
the
surprised.
Bid room, baby?
Yeah, the bid room.
Let's talk about it.
What
is that?
When you spend so much money, they give you additional discounts, and so you can get. Then they also have where you don't pay the taxes on your materials as well. So once you spend a total volume with Home Depot, you can get. They beat out lumber pricing for me than like some of the big lumber players.
Do you get like a host like at the casinos or something?
that
I know nothing about.
You get a biz dev. You get a biz dev rep. You get your person.
Biz dev rep.
Yeah,
not a host.
That's not necessarily at that Home Depot.
Right.
But you can
they'll
email
come
them.
and visit. Like my guys, my Home Depot reps will come and visit me at the site. I don't even have to go into Home Depot, and they'll. And with those guys, I get even better pricing if I were to go into the Home Depot and work.
And in the bid room, you asked, and that's probably a good little hack for the listener. Is it still $2,500? Mm-hmm. So if you're placing an order over $2,500 and you have a commercial pro account or whatever, you don't go to the register. You go over to the pro desk. You have it rang up, and you ask them to put it into the bid room.
Right.
And they'll send it back, and you'll get discounts that are significant. Mm-hmm. And then is it $2,500 a week or $2,500 a month?
Usually, we do weeks.
Yeah, it's like once you're in the bid room, then it's like a rolling bid room, and like every order goes through the bid room.
Yeah.
So I imagine you guys probably never leave the bid room.
Right. No, everything we purchase is going to be bid room because we're doing multiple units.
Is like in the real estate single family real estate investor world, there's always this. Is this person real? Are they not real? Are they full of shit? Are they legit? So maybe instead of the question of like how many deals did you do last month, it should be like who's your biz dev rep at Home Depot?
Exactly.
And if they don't have one, they'd be like, huh? If they do what I do, like, huh?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
do you have Gary's cell phone or not?
Right.
I don't know who Gary is. Is that
he's my guy?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and by the way, if you're, I think Home Depot's done. I'm going to talk about Home Depot for a minute.
Yeah.
Sponsorships are open.
Hashtag Home Depot.
Hashtag home Mr. Depot.
They've done probably the best job in the home services industry with their app recently. Tracking all the perks. Like I always love to get
I
like
love
the
the
little
perks.
email.
I get the gifts. Yeah,
you get
like
a free tour rental or $100
Yeah.
off or whatever.
Yeah.
But then also now download this thing, and if you're in a store and you're looking for a 100-watt light bulb, you just type it in and it tells you the bin and the aisle it's
to
in.
go to. Yeah.
It is like if the grocery stores could figure this crap out, men
Yeah.
in the world would be so much happier.
What's funny is
And it tells you how many they have in stock.
I know.
You're talking about the app. All I can think about is like the what Homevestors like 10 years ago, where they did a partnership with Home Depot and they were trying to do this like iPad app thing, and they were like pushing it hard. And I don't know if it ever took off.
It got there, but I'm telling you, the Pro Extra app, they have done a fantastic job. Because, Jennifer and I own houses in DFW, Austin, Waco, and San Antonio. And they lay them all out a little different.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to go into the Alamo Heights Home Depot and say I need air filters. And for some reason, in this store, they're in the back right instead of the front left. You just type it in and go get
Tells
it.
you exactly where to go.
Like the Ring camera. Like I just love it. It's a great app.
It
Makes
is.
you go like the whole Ron Swanson thing of like, I know more than you. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Anyway, it doesn't. Well, I was just kidding. Parks and Rec character who's a very manly man. He goes to Home Depot. Home Depot guy's like, can I help you? He's like, I know more than you.
Oh.
Neither one of y'all know that?
No.
Well, hopefully when they do the reels, they can cut
Yeah.
that in.
Yeah, we'll put that little
Yeah.
thingy.
It's
We
funny.
will.
Do
I
you
say
know?
we, the royal we. I mean, you will. Or your team will.
Someone will.
Someone will.
It'll get done.
It'll get done. So okay, materials, labor. What's other aspect
Demand
of the
from
business?
demand from the industry. I mean, are you seeing kind of more landlord demand, more flipper demand, more developer demand? Where is the demand in the development and reconstruction industry these days?
Our focus is, so my team, we focus on providing more of an affordable housing, your everyday buyer. There are, these builders that come in and do 2 million plus, and there are buyers for that. Those guys aren't affected by the economy right now, but our focus is a house that, it's a first time buyer. We have some projects going on in South Dallas now that, you have to make below a certain income in order to qualify, so that gives these buyers an opportunity to have home ownership. We just started the infrastructure and development on a property out in Greenville, Texas, where we are doing 150 single family homes, but it's a build to rent community. And a portion of it's going to be built to rent, a portion of it built to sell. But we're starting at 1s, 2s, and 3 bedrooms, where you can actually buy a 1-bedroom unit, that will start in the $200,000 price range that, before that, someone couldn't go buy anything for $200,000. Right. So we're creating, in that, on the residential side of our business, we're creating more of a housing that everyone, because right now everything's just skyrocketing, then you have the interest rates, but you have your first time home buyers, you have your older generation where they don't want to go into a home and they don't want to live with family, but they still can get around and do things themselves. So our focus right now on the residential side is creating and providing housing that your everyday person can afford.
What's considered affordable housing in the DFW market for like a 3-2?
Well, obviously it depends on the area. So for instance, out in Greenville where we're doing that development, our 3-2s will go in the mid 300s, low 300s.
And again, I feel like a boomer.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you have gray hair now, bud.
so do you, bud. Look
That's
at your
my
face.
beard.
That's
But
your
that
face.
could be because of age or stress. You just never
both,
know.
both. But it's just
It's our friendship,
Yeah.
actually.
that too. It's insane
You
to
both
me.
have it.
Yeah. It's insane to me that like mid 300s is affordable housing.
Right.
Because for years on the education circuit, the example of like, well, you got to buy it 65% minus repair. So if you buy a $100,000 house, you got to buy it 50, put 20 into it, sell it for 100, you make your 20, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you say that over and over and over the past 15 years for educational purposes, just for examples, and then you're like, wait a minute, $100,000 house.
Yeah.
Like where are you going to get that?
Well,
Right.
for years, the Dallas-Fort Worth median price just chugged along right at 2 to 3% appreciation a year.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018, it was around 140, 145. Today, it's 400.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
In
it is
6 years?
astronomical how unaffordable housing's become. And now add on top of this, they're trying to build a $300,000, I'm going to round down, a $300,000 starter home.
Mm-hmm.
You got to realize the taxes on that will be $7,000 a year. So if you're buying a starter home and your family makes $100,000 a year, 7% of your income is going to property
Right.
taxes.
So what's a typical, like, and again, this is from my ignorance and just not being in the business in a long time.
You're adjacent.
Adjacent, thank you. But like, because it used to be like, if you could build at $80 a square foot, that was a really good, and if you spent $100, you could really make a really
Right.
nice house.
Uh-huh.
What is it now?
It depends on the quality, what you're putting in it. So
Right.
we're right on our builds. We're between $100 to $110 per square foot.
Okay, so it
Not
hasn't-
counting land, though.
Not counting land.
Okay.
No. So not counting your land acquisition. So that's
Right.
just to build construction cost.
Right.
But that would also include like your grading and that type of stuff to prepare the site to pour and go vertical. So
In the past couple of years, with that little thing that happened in 2020,
The election.
the other both, but the exactly
all of it.
all of it didn't happen.
Can we just start referring to that as
Yeah.
the last election? That way we don't have to say the V word.
What's the V word? Oh, that one. I was like, what is it?
I know, it's
Victory?
like, yeah, no.
I don't
It's
know.
like a C word or the V word.
Hey!
but what I was gonna get at is like, because of that, the permit process went from like
Oh,
unbearable
crazy.
to like impossible.
Yeah.
Where is it now?
A lot of cities are doing things to help correct that. The city of Dallas has a fast track program now. So if you build and you've done, of course, it's going to be to the builders or developers that have been consistent in that market. They have these programs where you can come in. And like I said, really, it's just like anything. If you've been present in that market and you have the connections with the city,
The relationships.
yeah, the relationships, all about who you know, then they have these fast track programs with a lot of these cities. So
You have to buy a guy a watch.
yeah, something like that.
No,
Something has to happen.
it's not just who you know, though. It's what you know, because they know that you're going to fill the paperwork
Yeah.
out right.
Yeah.
They know that
They know
you're
that
not
you're
going to be
gonna
a big
perform.
headache.
Yeah.
Like you'll actually wait for the permit before you pour your slab.
Right.
Little things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you. I want to go to this because there's a lot of people out there. We had a new home builder on a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of interest in that episode. What are you seeing the finish outs? What do they need to be in that entry level house? Are we talking granite and stainless steel appliances and full hardwood floors? Are we talking about vinyl plank? Maybe just dial it back. Let's just Wizard of Oz, open the curtain and tell us some of the finish outs that you're seeing are needed in new construction in the starter home bracket.
So our finish outs that we focus on, we want to give, even if it's considered a starter home or affordable, we still want to give the people the sense of that they've got something that they're proud of. So we may step it up a little than what some builders may do, but we're definitely going to give you at least a granite or a quartz countertop. The colors that are in now. On the flooring, we may do a vinyl plank flooring instead of a wood flooring to still give that. Everybody just wants to look. If you can get this cosmetic look that's when they pull up social media and everyone's homes look like this, you'd be surprised how much you can trade on all of your materials. Again, like what we spoke of earlier with your connections and your resources of what you can get done with. Especially buying in bulk, because we don't just do one-off homes. We're going to do at least 5+ doors at a time. So I think as long as you're giving, from our experience, as long as you're giving them that look and feel of what the multi-million-dollar homes that you're not spending that, and it's not high, it's not marble, but at the end of the day, people just want a look and a feel of this is home. They spent the time on it. It feels warm. It feels fresh. It feels clean. So really, that's kind of what we focus on, and it could vary, but we definitely do. We don't downplay or go to the lowest end of everything.
Well, we spoke on this topic on it with a previous podcast guest, where in this day and age, where in 2020, at least in this market right now in 2024, that buyers have options. So like just barely getting by and barely, cutting corners doesn't work anymore,
Right.
because your house will sit on the market. So when it comes to the new builds, like, are you pulling out all the stops, even if it is entry level affordable housing? Like where I guess what I'm saying is like, how, I don't know what I'm saying. I just think there's a link to this topic, and I'm trying to formulate a question, but I'm drawing
You're
a
asking
blank.
maybe
Can I cut
because
mine?
it's
Please cut.
I'm gonna cut in
maybe
line.
because it's affordable. Where are we cutting corners?
Yeah,
Is that kind of
or
like-
I don't want to say it that
Yeah.
harshly.
right?
Like, do you see? Let's just say hypothetical competition. Do you see them like, oh crap, we screwed up by not doing the quartz, not doing the granite?
We haven't been in that situation yet. We try to study the market, study what everybody else is doing to make sure that we're either in line with that or one step higher or one feeling higher. And again, nowadays too, it's a lot about. There's so much more. We focus on the inside, but then the outside, creating more of a community feel, the dog parks, the pools, the amenity centers, and that type of stuff. So there's just an overall concept that, if you're in the business, you don't just go build whatever the hell you think you want to go build. What is the customer like, and how do you do that? You research the market, you see what people are buying, you talk to people, you ask, what would you like in your home? What would you, so we take time to really focus on who our customer is and what they're looking for, and how can we be consistent with that or better or one up, what the other players are doing in the field.
What colors are in now?
If you say eggshell, then it's like
Yeah.
nothing changes in 20 years.
Eggshell's not a color.
Sorry, go ahead.
Eggshell is the finish. Yeah. Adjacent to the real estate.
Egg on my face.
I prefer satin over eggshell. Or how about flat?
You know what?
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Semi-gloss.
Okay, eggshell white. Is that a better way to say it?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the color of
Perfect.
the white?
So what colors are in now?
Everyone wants the clean, fresh look. Not the dark, dingy. But although they are kind of going back on some of the dark stuff, if you look at some of the things they're doing, black homes on the outside or black interior doors.
In Texas?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Golly.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine the heat?
I'll just never forget. We were rehabbing this house over by White Rock Lake. It had to be 15 or 16. And my wife, Jennifer's like, all right, we're painting the walls gray. And I was just like, what? Because, mind you, when I first got started a long time ago, everything was white.
Yeah.
Then it became beige. Then it became white again.
Yeah.
And then we went to gray.
Yeah.
And then I heard there was a grayish.
Yeah. Now the creams and grays are combining.
Blue
now.
cabinets is a thing.
Blue
When you said white,
Yeah.
did you mean eggshell white?
Depends on what you're painting, actually. It could be the walls, the ceilings.
I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
I know.
And
brother,
gold is back
you
in
missed the
now.
hill altogether.
Yeah.
Gold?
And gold is back in
Well,
now.
so
Is
when
that
I
Trump related or just because it's
I
back?
don't know, but it's like we do these cycles.
Yeah, when I started, it was like everything was brass.
Yeah.
Then there was like a 5 or 10 year period where all we did was rip brass things out.
Yes.
And now everything's back to brass or gold.
Yeah,
It's just
I know.
painful.
Well, I mean, what's funny about that is, think about the years of the rehabs when you rip at the carpet, and it was like a lottery win when you saw beautiful
Beautiful wood
hardwood
floors.
finish or hardwood floors. And it's like, I wonder what's being built now that will be in 20 years be covered up,
yeah.
and then 20 years after that be like, oh my god,
They'll be like, forget this quartz. I want Formica.
Yeah. At least we won't have the asbestos issues with the new
or the lead or whatever.
on the
Chinese
new
drywall
builds now.
instead.
Yeah.
So you were talking about keeping on up to date with the trends.
Yeah.
If someone's thinking about building, rehabbing, etc., what are some ways that they can go out and evaluate what the trends are and what maybe not what's popular, but or what's not what's common, what's popular?
Yeah. You have to know your market. You have to know who your client is. You have to know who your customer is. That's really your focus. If you are in this business to make an impact and to provide housing that people really want, then I mean, you're going to see what the market's doing. You can see where you can maybe, definitely be either equal or how can you one up it. And you want to focus at the end of the day. You can build whatever, but if your customer doesn't like it or your buyer isn't, then, I mean, so that's what you really have to listen to and focus on. What are they buying? What are they looking for? Social media is another thing now. There's so many trends on social media that you kind of see what's in. But really, we do a lot on being out in the field, being out on the market, seeing what everyone else is doing, and really, really focusing on what do the customers or buyers want.
So how do you know, how are you listening to the audience or listening to the clientele when the clientele is going to buy pretty much everything that everybody puts out there, especially if it's new? You know? Is it like, hey, let's try this blue wall, and then if it doesn't get sold, you're like, hey, maybe the blue wall is not a good choice?
No, I think where we come from, we want everything to be where anyone, regardless of your style or your color choices, if you moved in, you bought this home, the essentials are there, but you may want to paint an accent wall yourself a different color, or you may want to do something different in a bedroom or whatever. But I think essentially if you give them a platform where everything is clean, fresh, looks up to date, and if they want to come in and make some changes themselves to make it more personalized, then they do that. But
what I'm asking though is like, because I understand listening to the customer and really knowing your customer, but if we live in this bubble of, hey, it's always going to be eggshell white,
right,
or gold or whatever. Unless you're polling the audience, unless unless the clientele, the public, how are we getting a good grasp of what the public actually
what are they
wants?
buying? It's all in.
That's what I'm asking.
all on market. Like if
So
you
the
pull up your
comps?
market, what are they buying? What does your product compare to? What are they doing that? And how many days was it on the market? And it sold for this. It sold at sell price. It sold over sales price. So that's going to tell you, you can't lie about the numbers or the facts. They are what they are. So
One of our friends, Blake Johnson, in his signature line, had always said, "Remember, it's your investment, not your home."
Right.
And I think it was interesting. You said it earlier. A lot of people kind of go out and build whatever the heck they want, whatever
Right.
the heck they want. And maybe you could talk a little bit about, because what you're saying is you're looking at comps, you're seeing
Right.
what's selling, you're looking at floor plans that are desirable, maybe houses that didn't sell. So if you were talking and someone's out there, they think they're going to build some houses, what are some trends you're seeing now that you think people should emulate? Like garage, no garage, dining room, no dining room, that type of thing.
the formal dining rooms have gone away. In most cases now, the formal living room has gone away, and not a lot of new builds are wasting that space on a formal living room. We're replacing that more of an office. I think COVID, the big virus word, did a spin on that. A lot of people are allowed to work from home now, or choosing to work from home more. So instead of spending that space on a formal dining or a formal living, we're making that an office space. Right when you walk in, you may have double doors office. Ensuite bathrooms, instead of used to, they did Jack and Jill's where everybody shared bathrooms. So now it's more so every bedroom has a bathroom within, instead of sharing bathrooms.
That solves the multi-generational housing need too.
Yeah. So I would say that's a lot of the big. Another thing is people are wanting to build where definitely there's something downstairs, at least 2 bedrooms downstairs with the master and maybe another, because a lot of people these days are having their parents or the elderly come in and live with them, and is there some way to accommodate that? So that's another. So those, I would say those things kind of pop out.
Yeah.
Probably the highest things right now that make a lot of sense on selling the product in the homes.
And then when it comes to the new homeowner, because it used to be, and this is probably not relevant or even, but it's just interesting to me, because it used to be, I would assume like a new homeowner would be like the 21 to 25 right out of college. Is it the same, or is new homeowners like that 28 to 32 range, or in the 40s?
The new homeowner these days, I think, are more in the middle age range, right out of college. They're more focused on this. That everyone, not just a certain generation. We're more focused on what's the quickest, easiest way we can travel more, we can do this more. How do we just shut our house up and go? Everyone's on this go mode now. That either the younger generation is go, 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 and then the older generation, we're on the we want to go as much as we can. So I think it's more for us, our trend is it's more of that middle aged group where they've kind of done all the running, and now I think maybe the sense of creating a family, starting a family gives them more of the okay, let's sit down for a minute and
let's have a house
and let's have a house versus let's have a yard and let's do this, let's have a look for a school district and those type of things versus that younger. I mean, it's there's
the
more
skyrise apartment
there's
thing.
more renters these days than there are buyers. And of course some of that's because of rates and that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's interesting. Used to, it was like the American dream to like buy a home immediately. Me personally, I wouldn't buy anything else to live in right now. I would put money in investments, not for me personally to live in.
I mean, I'm a fan of investing, so I tend to agree. But you've brought up dog parks, pools, amenities, work from home. Is that the trend? Is the trend like the subdivision is now like an ecosystem to live in versus it used to be kind of the place for the wife and kids to be while the dad was at work, so to speak? But you're kind of what I'm hearing is it's like live, work, and play.
Yeah.
Even in Greenville, which if you're not from Dallas-Fort Worth, Greenville's not close to anything other than Greenville.
Right.
I mean, it's like Rockwall, where I live, is far enough, but Greenville's another hour. I mean, to get to the airport from Greenville, you're looking at an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, like it's
Which airport?
DFW.
From downtown Dallas is about an hour, 45 minutes an hour. I mean,
Well, not on I-30. No, no.
And not with traffic, but yeah.
In a helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you're making all the money on the, with Gary, the Home Depot guy,
Yeah.
she can afford a helicopter.
The helicopter doesn't go in the bedroom, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't
All
get
right,
that.
so I would like to talk a little bit about some of these first-time homebuyer incentives and redeveloping in underprivileged communities. Are there a lot of grants and special financing programs in those areas?
There are. There's grants and special financing, but in order to, there's a lot of red lines and tape on that. But you also have to build a certain product. There's a lot of guidelines you have to follow for grants and those type of things. So it's not just a lot of people, and it's a waiting game on it. There's a lot of paperwork. A lot of people run from this kind of thing, especially builders, because you're thinking, okay, I got the land, I do this, and now I want to build and go. But if you're dealing with the city on grants and these type of special programs, you have to meet certain guidelines. There's certain square footage that you have to build. There's certain amenities that you have to provide. There's a lot of just...
So dealing with the government is not easy, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not easy.
I've been... go ahead, sorry.
But it can be beneficial if you have the patience and you have the capacity to financially fund your projects and get reimbursed for some things. It can definitely be
these
beneficial.
grants are for the developer. I meant like for the home buyer.
Home buyers have their things too, but as far as us on the development side, there are things that we have to follow, guidelines in order to that will allow the buyers to align for these certain grants or things like that. For instance, certain types of financing, if they're not a certain square footage, then we could get every buyer we want, but then they can't qualify for a certain type of financing because it's not a certain square footage or it doesn't have a certain amenity that that grant or that qualification.
Energy Star windows
right,
or
all
something
that
like
kind of
that.
stuff. There's so many like checkpoints to it.
So when you're building homes, how often? I understand building a home for listen to your audience, listen to your clientele, and building specifically for that person. But how often are you reverse engineering to that detail where it's like, hey, we are targeting this sort of buyer who will qualify for this sort of financing. Therefore, it needs to be 1,300.7 square feet with eggshell white
Right.
color. How often are you doing? Is it how methodical are you in that development
It
process?
depends on what we're building. Our projects right now, a few of our projects, the one in South Dallas where we have the townhomes, that is focused on a certain buyer. So we're going to have certain guidelines that we do and provide as a developer for that buyer. Same thing out in Greenville, the 150 homes. We had to go make some adjustments on our one bedrooms. They have to be a certain square footage for these guys to qualify for a certain type of loan. Has to be a certain type of square footage. So when our products focused on the affordable, more housing, we are going to focus on the guidelines that will allow these buyers to qualify and get these type of homes. So then we have other projects where that's not our focus. We're getting now into the commercial space as well, more of retail and that kind of stuff. So those we're not going to focus on those type of guidelines. It's different buyer, different that kind of stuff. So so it just depends on the product and what your goal is for that community, and not everything's going to be exactly the same. So we just have a diverse things that we build and focus on, but right now it just happens to be 2 projects that are focused on workforce.
Well, that's interesting because it's very similar to a previous topic we were talking about on a different podcast, which is if you only use one vendor, you have that single point of failure. So for you, being able to have so many diverse clientele, it prevents, I guess, getting whacked over the head with going out of business.
Right. Yeah.
Build for rent has been kind of the darling at the dance for the last 3 to 4 years. Seems like it's losing some steam. What made you decide in Greenville to do half and half? Was it a governmental thing, or was it just a exit strategy thing? What was the idea there?
It's both. You go for what that market needs. We spend a lot of time in that market talking to the city, talking to the people in the city. What is that age group? What are they? That's an older community. Greenville is. So like I said earlier, these guys, they can't go and afford and they don't want a 3-bedroom home. They want to own a home. They want ownership, but they want a 1-bedroom. So it depends on your market, really, is what your focus is on that. And as far as, you can, depending on how you build it, if you individually plat them, then you could always turn around. If you build it as a build to rent, but you plat them individually, you can turn around and sell it. So you have several exit strategies on that product.
So you're not doing the big bulk parcel build for rent that has to be refinanced on like a multifamily loan or sold to an institutional investor. This is kind of the individual parcel. It could be used for both. You could refinance it on a DSCR loan. Someone out there listening could buy it as an income producing rental. Or so the nice thing is, I would imagine your HOA is not against rentals.
Right, not against rentals. Yeah,
I hate HOAs. Did you know that about me?
I don't know anybody that likes an HOA.
And it depends on how you set it up. Like we're doing a lot of, and that's another thing with the city that you really have to get in and dig into. We're doing, in Greenville, it's considered a condo detached, which allows us, you have to get approval through the city, but that's what allows us to individually plat and survey, which when you look at it, it looks like like what you said, one big community on one parcel. But you can go through these different types of, there's a company that we're working with that's assisting us with this. They've done several build-to-rent communities throughout Texas and other states. And there's just like anything, there's just a lot of like fine line and details that you have to get done up front in order to make that available. Now, if you just go build it and don't get all these details aligned up front, you'll have headaches trying to undo it. But we're spending a little extra time working with this group and getting all that approval done on the front end with the cities that will allow us in the end, if we want to turn around, we get it complete and sell to some of the big guys that'll.
So
make
assuming
sense.
you don't have an endless supply of capital, which if you do, don't worry, I can spend it for you. Are you planning on selling these to individual investors? Are you planning on keeping them yourself? What's the kind of exit strategy for the Greenville development specifically?
For that one, we want to keep a portion as rentals and then sell a portion as well. We also purchased a tract of land in front of this residential, where we're going to do self-storage. Retail self-storage is a huge thing right now if you follow the trend. If anyone's doing a multifamily community or housing community, there's usually a self-storage popping up right there by it. I mean, your returns on that are crazy. There's no overhead. So that's another thing that we're focusing on when we buy land. Can we bring in the concept of a self-storage area right in that area? You know, we have a tendency to hold on to too much crap that we shouldn't, you know. So if you're trying to downsize and buy a home that's, you know, more of affordable price, like what are you doing with all your crap? They
Move into this one bedroom and put your stuff over there.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we're just doing a lot of things to make it all make sense for now and future.
That seems like a great segue to ask the question, what all do you do?
So my focus is construction and development. You know, these last 2 years I've done more of a pivot where I think with anyone, you want to focus on what can you provide someone else? What solution do you bring to others? And these last 2 years, my pivot was, I have the construction knowledge, I have the construction background, I'm boots on the ground. What can I bring? What solution can I provide for investors or individuals that need to put money to work? And that, once I focused on that and kind of zoned in on that, I mean, I can pick up the phone on a week's notice and go, hey, you're creating opportunities and then also providing solutions. You know, I don't buy anything on market. I buy everything off market. So I'll go buy a piece of land off market for $1.6 million that has an appraisal value of 3.8. And then I turn and go to investor. I'm like, listen, this is the concept idea. This is what we can do on here. This is what our projected returns. This is what we can do. You have money to put to work. They'll come up with the upfront money that acquires the land. We'll focus on there moving forward. I'm the boots on the ground. So I bring the idea. I bring them a solution for their money. And it's just kind of been turnkey. And in that, I'm managing the project. I love to be on a project. And then I'm also getting equity in I will not do a deal unless I get equity in it.
Amen. How's it been? A little bit of a racy topic here. You know, my wife manages a lot of the construction in our company, and a lot of my guys, the contractors, would much rather deal with me than her because, well, I'm all about the relationship. She's like all about our money.
Yeah.
She's approaching it like, you better fix this. But as a woman, as a man, if I'm unhappy, I'm just being a businessman.
Right.
As a woman, if she's unhappy, she's being a bitch. How is it as a woman running these large construction projects? And I mean, there may be a young lady out there listening that's struggling with this.
Yeah.
What advice can you give maybe to some women out there that maybe love the construction side but are struggling with, I don't know, personalities or maybe even self-limiting beliefs?
Yeah. I think my biggest difference in the construction industry, I mean, it really kind of falls in line with anything. You know, we all get in these spaces where we want to fit in. We want to look like everybody, want to do what everybody else is doing. But the only way I've been able to level up in my career in the construction industry is being different in this space, but also really knowing your, I was going to say a bad word, knowing your crap and not
knowing your shit.
Yeah, knowing your
just
shit.
mark this
because
as an E.
I was like, can I say it? But because you're a woman in the space that's male dominant, that's the first thing they're going to test you on. Are you just coming in here because you want to look pretty and get a deal done and get something special, or do you really know your shit? So if you come in and you know it, first off, you gain a whole nother level of earth. They're like, okay, well, it just kind of, and then you look different from everyone. So you stand out, you know your crap. And the other biggest thing I tell anyone, don't shit where you eat. I mean, you can't play, you're all about business. I'm appreciative of my guys. I tell them, thank you. I appreciate you. But I don't play. I stay just even tone all the time. I don't change. I don't do anything different. I'm the same way every time. And I think as women, you can really use this space. You're going to have to do a little more on the front end to gain the knowledge, because you're going to get questioned a little bit more than than maybe the gentleman. But once you've proven yourself and you've stayed consistent on how you run your business and how you handle yourself with the others, I haven't been disrespected in this. I can say when I first started 25 years ago, it was a challenge. But once you've held your ground and made your space, you're unstoppable because you're totally different from what everyone's used to dealing with.
And I'm going to say something else. Like, as a woman working on Texas construction projects, learn a little bit of Spanish.
Right, yeah.
Because, well, Jennifer's fluent.
Yeah.
And we'll walk on, she's a pretty woman, and guys sitting around will start running their mouths,
Yeah.
and they think she doesn't understand. And she'll turn, and I don't really speak Spanish, poquito.
Right.
But man, she'll turn around and start, blah, 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 like, I understand you. I heard what you said. That's disrespectful. Get off my job site.
Right.
Like, and next thing you know, like, it becomes the real deal when she's on the site.
Yeah.
They button their lips and get to work because
Yeah.
they're like, El Jefe, don't play.
Yeah.
Or La Jefe, I don't know. I forget.
So as we're getting close to the end here, you talked about working with investors and then bringing the deals and whatnot. We pride this as kind of like the, just a real investing, the real stuff. When you're at networking events or when you meet people that are fairly new to the real estate investing world, what are the frequently asked questions that they ask you that you wish that they just knew already about construction or what you do specifically or analyzing a deal or
I think that's a sensitive topic because at the end of the day, if people are giving you money, they have to trust you and you have to allow that time to stop and answer questions because what I'm finding in the construction space, not a lot of people have built anything. I mean, go and ask how many people have you built a home from ground up. I mean, most people, I would say probably 90% of the people haven't. They've just went and purchased something or they've just invested in something blindly because their friend did. So I think it's it's key to, you're asking people for millions of dollars. It's key to take the time and answer. If you're trying to brush them off or here, go look at this or go to that, I don't do business like that. I know there's plenty of people out there that, collect money and claim to do this and claim to this. I tell them you can come visit me on this job site.
Right.
Like if you look at my social media, I'm always going to show myself on a job site because it shows my investors, this is what I'm doing with the money. This is what I'm not driving around in a Bentley and going buying ice and going, yeah, I'm a builder. Like, okay, what the hell? Where are you on the job site?
Oh!
Like, when are you on a job site?
Well,
when are you showing what you do?
Maybe I asked the question wrong. I didn't mean to insinuate that they were wrong asking the questions. It was more just like, what are those questions they ask? That way, the audience can hear those answers.
Man, the questions are unlimited. It really is. I mean, most question that you ask, but you can't guarantee this, like, am I guaranteed that I'm not going to lose the money? You can't guarantee that to anyone. But you also, when you're getting into these partnerships, you want to spell out and be very detailed about, you can lose your ass on this. You can't, because what happens when you set the tone of this is the worst case scenario, but then you perform like you're a hero, so you do want to expose everything out there and put it on the table. Like, this is worst case scenario, this is middle, this is best case scenario. And then when you perform, and then it's just rinse and repeat after that. But there's really not everyone asks that, how can I guarantee?
I'll summarize what she just said because, I raise capital all the time. The number one question investors have is, how do I get my money back and when?
Yeah.
Right? Like, the return is oftentimes their second or third question.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody asks about the return because that's what they're told to ask on. But their real fear, their real concern is, how am I going to get my money back? Like, are we refinancing? Are we selling? And then they want to know when. Like, and then she got into probably the fourth question, and if it all works out, this is the return. But then they want to get into worst case. Like, if it goes bad, how do you handle? It's almost like an interview. Like, you interview a new employee. It's how have you dealt with a conflict at work before? Like, as a capital raiser, you just go ahead and address it. You're like, look, if the market turns or if interest rates go up 100 basis points, here's how we handle that. We shift to a rental. We shift to a sale. Like,
you want to have several exit strategies. And I think another big thing that I've taken the time more to focus on these last 2 years too is not everybody is a great business partner for you. And I wish people took more time to treat their business like as if they were marrying someone or getting this lifelong commitment, because you can get in business with somebody and they're a complete asshole. And, regardless of what your contract says or what your agreement, they don't know construction, they don't know real estate, but they want to put their money to work. And now they've just become just a pain in your ass.
There's a lot of power in no.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I really wish people have taken more time. I'm very, very particular. I get, people, I want to work, I want to invest. I'm like, I need to research you. Just like you want to interview me, I want to interview you just as much. I think people really need to stop and take, not all money's good money, and take the time to really focus on who they're getting in these partnerships and agreements with, because it's like a marriage,
right.
And it can be very damaging and bad.
I think that's a good place to end, because I just shared on Facebook today. I saw an article about I think there was this capital group out of California that was being foreclosed on, and they had three or four apartment complexes in the North Texas region. And I just shared it, opportunity, and then everybody was like, not all, literally, it was like, not all deals are good deals. And,
right.
And it goes back to the old saying in real estate is some of the best deals you do in real estate are the ones you don't do.
Right.
But I don't want to end on a negative note. I'd rather end on the fact that you pointed out trust. Trust is huge in this business, and you got to trust the people you work with.
Yeah, and you just need to fact check everyone. Social media has made this where everybody can get on there and act like they're an expert. But
like we do.
Yeah, show me some receipts. Show me where you've been on title. Show me where you've done this deal. Show me who's
your Home Depot business developer rep.
There's so many really stop using social media as just like this Hollywood, and they say this and they sell a course, but they don't.
But on that note,
on that note, if you want to validate yourself on the internet, Harper Belmont can do that for you.
Ta-da! That's what I was leading to.
There we go.
Well, but also you did mention your social media, and I want to give you a chance. If someone's watching this and maybe they have money or they want to follow up or get to know you or follow you, you're on social.
How do they do business with you?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. Instagram's under Courtney A. Hemsley, and then Facebook's under Courtney Hemsley, and then LinkedIn as well. So I do everything on social media, website there, and everything like that. So yeah, just reach out and I'll see if we're the right partnership.
So final thoughts, final word, anything that you would like to cover before we head out?
Final thoughts are, just, I would say focus more on doing the research, taking the time. People are so quick to jump into things, whether it's a deal or with people. And I know for me personally, these last 2 years, this pivot, I've focus more on individuals and how we bring value to one another versus trying to be a fit for everyone. And these 3 to 4 individuals that I have as partners or investors right now has skyrocketed my business, when before that you were trying to fit in with everyone. So I would say find your niche, find your people, and focus on that, and try to, instead of trying to fit in with everyone else, has been a big
wise words.
Key
riches
player.
or niches, baby. Riches or niches.
The whole 80-20 thing.
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
I said riches or niches, but then it's supposed to be niches or riches.
I heard a different word in that thing. I was like,
we've already made this
I
an
don't know
E episode, so
here we go. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you for having me.
Plug for Ternus.
yeah, borrow money and pay us back. So.
Or we'll take your assets.
Thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.